tracked. Our officers go every end of the month or the first week of the second month, and then collect the data attendance physically from the schools.
We have been going to the school every month and then checking the attendance from the school, official register. After we finish with our marking of the registers, the head teacher verifies for us, the committee also verifies, and also the education officers who are in the field have been also signing those attendance registers.
There has been an increase in the number of children enrolled as a result of the cash transfers.
We have seen there is a lot of change with the enrollment because of this cash transfer. There is a morale. In fact, they really encourage, even most of the parents are well happy about it.
Tangu hii project imeanza, kwanza population ya shule imeincrease. Tumekuwa na wanafunzi wengi shuleni. Kwanza kulikuwa na wengine hawajiwezi, hawakuwa na uniform, hawangeweza kupata kalamu, hawangeweza kupata vitabu. Sasa vile hiyo pesa iliingia, beneficiaries walifaidika.
هلا اسكول كستا 3 عروض بان ليه barnaamijka oo ay anfacay in ilmaha ay madanaada oo iskuulka uu saacideeyay yurfanka ugu gatay kawaha ugu gatay waxyaalo fara badan oo uu saacideeyay jirta
حتى waxaan bay ii qabatay iskuulka ilmaha yurfankooda buuga qalinkooda raashinkooda hatta lacagta inta ay leena ama guriga waxan baan ku jiray dabeelkii guriga oo qabiye waan ku dhameeyay tabaatiga waan ku saartay geeda ana gurtay baatigan ku saartay inta kalena waa isticmaalayno ilmaha raashinkooda buuga qalinka yurfankooda diyaar bay ugu ahayd.
Pesa za children kupatiwa wazazi wangu imenisaidia kubai uniform nzuri na supplementary box na chakula. Chakula tunapata chakula nzuri mara ya kwanza, lakini siku hizi hakuna siku nitakosa chakula. Familia yetu na zile zingine hakuwa na same. Sisi tulikuwa maskini kwanza.
Akhrisanaya hadda marka lacagta ay naga go'day waan ku rafaadnay anigu waxyaaro beecshiro aan haystay beecshiradayda waa iganayto hada buuga iyo qalinka hada waan u leeyahay markanayto waan shaqeyn leeyahay.
Save the Children has actually come in very handy. They are trying to increase access by giving cash to certain households so that they can access education. This is actually going to reduce barriers, financial barriers to education.
Cash transfers make a positive difference to a child's enrollment, attendance, and retention in schools, particularly amongst girls. There is a task for education across Garissa County, hence the need to increase awareness and training programs, as well as reduce barriers in order to impact more children's lives.
Napanga kuendelea masomo yangu, nimalize daraja la 8, niendelee niende shule ya pili, nimalize nisome university. Nisome university, tena nikikua niwe daktari, nisaidie vile.
Nataka kuwa daktari ili nisaidie watu wangu kwa sababu naona madokta ni ndogo ni wachache ili mimi niongezeke.
Since 1919, we have aimed for the impossible, and thanks to partners like you, we have long been on the leading edge of significant, sustainable progress for children. Today, the mortality rate for children under 5 has been reduced by half. 91% of children in the developing world are enrolled in school. World leaders are committed to protecting children from violence, and there are 1 billion fewer people living in extreme poverty. Together, we have transformed the lives and futures of millions of children, their families and communities, our world. But despite all our advances, millions of children are still being left behind. It doesn't have to be this way. For the first time in history, it is possible to achieve the seemingly impossible and realize our shared vision for children, a world where all children grow up healthy, learning, and safe, where every child has the best chance for a bright future. Every last child. Please join us in commemoration of our 100th anniversary in 2019. Together, we'll invest in the promise and potential of childhood. With you, we'll make the impossible possible.
My name is Eglantyne Jebb.
right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, again. I can hear the noise of some plates, and we are about to start our function right now. I would kindly request for those who are still partaking of their breakfast, if they can do so in less than a minute, or in a manner that would not be disruptive. I'm not so sure how you get that right. So I'll give us just a minute for us to settle down, find a space where you can sit. And I think when we were in class, we were always told those who sit in front would get higher marks. I'm not so sure those who are sitting behind what it meant, but I will not interpret that for now. That child is the reason why we are here. I think one of the things that I find interesting when children are crying, some grown-ups find it very irritating. But yet all of us at some stage, we were all children. So I let the child be the child, and today we are here for Save the Children, marking 100 years. Let me thank you, Chief Guest, Honorable Abdul Bahari, for honoring the occasion. Let me also thank Senator Honorable Faria Ali, Senator for Wajir. Let me also thank Mohamed Sabul from EU, Moez Mir, the CEO for SBM Bank. We have a representative from Safaricom Foundation. We also have Zoe Hansby from DFID, Ruth Waithera from GSK. There are quite a number, so I'll keep reading it as we proceed. But let's begin this event by our national anthem. I think that unifies all of us. And I would request that we stand up and pray. Thank you. We may have our seats. I always love that song, and I think when you're outside the country, it unifies you more to the country. So let me first of all thank you all for finding time and braving the traffic jam, the weather, and everything else that was aiming to distract you from keeping time, and for being here for Save the Children as we celebrate 100 years. I think just a few house rules. The main washrooms would be towards the reception if you want to use it. And then the event today is for children. In short, it is us celebrating when we were, how many years ago? Many, many years ago. So it's celebrating ourselves when we were children, but at the same time trying to project what the future would be for children. So when you hear the child cry, it's part and parcel of the choreographed plan for today, for the program. So let the child cry. But before I proceed more to the official opening of the event, I would want to indulge you in a short video that would tend to set the tone of where Save the Children started. Because actually the Country Office of Kenya has gotten it so right to mark the 100 years because it started around May in 1999. So my sound team and the IT team, or the entire team, or the communication team, please, let me indulge you on the video, please. And there'll be questions after the video, so pay attention to every detail.
My name is Eglantyne Jebb. I was born in London many, many years ago, in 1876, can you imagine? I lived with my siblings and my parents, who taught us we should help people. As I watched how my parents made other people happy, I realized I wanted to be like them, so I became a teacher. I liked my work very, very much. However, what I did was not enough. My biggest dream was making all the children of the world happy. During that time, a huge war was taking place, so I decided to help children that suffered hunger. Many people told me that the world was lost, but my dreams kept me fighting. Years later, in 1919, I got together with many people to explain to them why it was important to help children living in countries with ongoing wars. They donated money for food, so children didn't suffer from hunger anymore. That day, Save the Children was born. Since then, we have been able to help many children around the world, protecting them from wars, giving them a home, giving them a good education, taking care of their food and health, helping them to laugh again, to live happily, and above all, helping them to live safely and without danger. Those years were very difficult. It seemed that everything was against us. But during an afternoon in 1922 in Switzerland, inspiration came to me. I found out what to do to help all the children in the world. I wrote the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. For the first time, the document explained that all children need protection, regardless of race, nationality, or belief. My text inspired the United Nations and gave guidelines to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is still in force. My dream of protecting all children was fulfilled at last. 100 years after its foundation, Save the Children continues working all over the world so that children and adolescents have a better life. It was then that I realized that we are light. No matter how small it is, light can beat the darkness. My friends called me White Flame because of my white hair, but also because I was a beacon of hope for millions of children. Nothing and nobody can turn off your light. Pursue your biggest dream. Fight every day to make it happen. And if someone tells you that you cannot achieve your dream, tell them my story.
Okay, so that's a short video, a short quiz, just 2 questions. And it's a no-brainer. Which year was Save the Children founded? Someone said 90. 19? Of course, you're marking 100 years. It should be 1999. 1999. Which month? 1919. Oh, sorry. Which month? Who wants to take me on this one? Which month? May. Was that on the video? I gave it to you. One of the interesting things that you have not seen in the video is that actually when the founder started the fund in England, the first contributor was actually a prosecuting lawyer. So on this day, she was having photos of emaciated children who were affected by World War I, and she was holding them in the streets. She was accused for causing disturbance because she was showing people videos of children who were emaciated. Taken to court, and when she was given a fine of €5, the prosecuting lawyer paid that for her because she thought the campaign was so nice that she should continue doing the same thing. In 1924, and I want you to compare with where we are in Kenya to just show you the relevance of Save the Children in this occasion. In 1924, she wrote the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. If you compare that to where we are, have we achieved every right of the child in that context? That in 1924, someone sat and thought that every child has a right. By then, I don't think any one of us was born, so she was actually referring to all of us in the room. And I think for me, that's the point where we clap and celebrate the 100 years for Save the Children. I think before the program starts on a serious note, I'd want you to interact, and I know you've interacted with the person on the table, but I know you've only interacted about the weather, which institution you work for. But let's see within each table the total number of years of experience that you've had working if it culminates to 100 years. So all you need to ask is, how many years of experience have you worked? And then one of you who was good in mathematics will try and add that up. And then let's see which table is an ECD, which one is a primary school, which one is a secondary school, which one is a university. So I'll give you only 2 minutes to try and do the mathematics. And if you are 3 people, I'm so sorry, don't fix it. For this table, I already know your total years of experience. I'll just select one representative per table to shout for me the number. Then we see the hierarchy of this table. Okay, let's start. I'll finish with the table where the children are because I think there are so many years of experience ahead. But let's start with this table. One person shout of the total number of years. 41. Okay. One person? 83. That table behind there? Did you say 35? I didn't say the age. I said the total number of experience is 35. Okay, walk with me. That table behind there? 65. Okay. Pardon? 83. Okay, we are coming closer. This table over here? 89. Okay. This table? No coping, no coping. Okay, one person said 106, another person said 100. So one person, please. Please, I was not good in maths. Just make it easier for me. 70. Here? 1. Hey, the instructions were just tell me the years, don't celebrate here. And on this table? 183. Woo! Let's clap for them. And let's finish with a table where we have 3 children, which have a lot of years of experience coming forward. How many years of experience is there? I think it should be a total of almost 100 and something if we project. And so this becomes our institutions of higher learning, 183. And that becomes our ECD center. That was 35 years. That's our ECD center. And then the rest becomes some of the technical vocational institutions we have. And I think by 183, if you look at the number of years of experience we've had, I do not need to ask how old we are. So I'll skip that question very fast. And I will not even attempt to do that. But just to appreciate that being, as an institution, operating on issues of children for 100 years presents quite a lot of opportunities, challenges that we've gone through as an institution. And there's no other person to begin us on this conversation on what these 100 years have been than to welcome our own country director, Wang La, to come and start us off and tell us what this journey has been. Wang La, please don't disclose the number of years. At least your table won it, so I think that's fine.
Good morning, everyone. Your Excellency Chief Administration Secretary from Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, Honorable Abdul Bahari Ali, UNHCR Representative Fahaya, and CEO of SMB Bank, Mira, and our Honorable Board of Directors and colleagues, children, partners who have been working with us in the past years. Welcome. Standing here, I think after we watched the video and then, looking in terms of the year experience we have on the table, what I want to say is when we started planning for these events, we're saying this is an event to celebrate, not for Save the Children, but it's celebrating for the 100 years impact for children. And because over the 100 years, it's all of us. Everyone who is interested in children have brought that impact around the world, especially here in Kenya. And I think, we are here on official titles, but I'm more believing actually you are here because you have the heart for the children, and you are here because you are the champion for the children. So from the video we have seen actually where Save the Children was started, and the story of our founder, Eglantyne Jebb. Each time when I hear it, even after being 12 years with Save the Children, it touches me. I become very emotional. And I'm so proud actually being part of this great organization, 100 years movement, have constantly bring what we call the immediately and lasting impact for children around the world. I will not repeat, a lot what the video have said, and my colleague who have shared with you about some of our early days around the world. And I think a few things to highlight. I think one is the courage of Eglantyne Jebb in that time, back in 1919, really stand out to say, children are not my enemies. Children deserve the right for everyone. Thinking about 1920s, the universal human rights idea have not been endorsed that time, but Eglantyne Jebb that time already believing children has its own individual rights, and then all those being translated later on to the United Nations Convention for Children's Rights, which is the fundamental for everyone working for children. It's a Bible for everyone working for children. It is a convention which ratified and applied in many countries. I arrived in Kenya about 2 years ago, and I loved to hear all the stories people tell me in terms of the history of Save the Children in Kenya. Back in the 1950s, Save the Children was first started the work in Kenya. We started humanitarian relief work in Kenya. And also I love the partners tell me in terms of, when Kenya government ratified United Convention for Children's Rights in the 1989 and the early 90s, Save the Children was so instrumental to support the government, support the Kenya NGOs to ratify and then establish one of the first child rights movement in the country. Nowadays, I think, the child rights, the Kenya NGOs working for child rights, they have also led some of the trends in the world. For example, the Kenya NGO is one of the first organizations pushed to have children's participation during the review in Geneva. So if it wasn't the Kenyan child rights movement, I think today probably we will still have experts who is reviewing the report from different countries, and we will not have a children's voice there. And in past years, and of course we have to, I always also meet the people say, oh, I know Save the Children because I've been sponsored through Starhead Boys Center. So that since 1959, Save the Children have been supporting the vulnerable children through Starhead Boys Center. Nowadays, I think those boys, including some are working in our own offices, they become really the building blocks for this country. And through a quality education, through the vision to build Kenya, they become really the hard block for Kenya. And then, we had, I think, in terms of worked mainly with different partners. And I think in more recent years, if you look at our beautiful, beautiful children over there, in 2011, Save the Children started our health signature program, try to address some of the challenges and for under 5 mortality, and we introduced some of the very high impact intervention for preterm baby, like kangaroo mother care, as well as other. We piloted, tested, especially in Bungoma, Busia, and Nairobi, try to generate that evidence to show, yes, we can make child mortality a history, we can make under 5 deaths a history by just using those high-impact interventions. So back in 2011 and 2012, we have had supported, the devastating drought in Kenya, and also the birth of Save the Children International from different Save the Children member organizations, what's happened during that period. And Save the Children is an organization actually, protection is in the forefront of Save the Children. So in the 1997, Save the Children started our flagship child protection program in Dadaab refugee camp for the refugees from Somalia and other countries. So I think although through today, Save the Children is still, taking the vision our founder have laid out 100 years ago, and carry out that vision of 2030. We had what Save the Children called the Breakthrough 2030, which we want to see all children around the world can survive until their 5th birthday from all preventable cause of death. They will be able to access quality basic and the ECCD services to fulfill their potential. All the children should be protected free from all sort of violence. With that vision in mind, we have passed the first strategy period 2015 to 2018, which a lot of steps have made forward to achieve that vision of 2030, which Save the Children have laid out for the children as well, together with all our partners. And this year marks the second strategic period from 2019 to 2021 for our strategy period, and it also marks the first year of our next 100 years journey. And we believe we will still be there for that organization, for the children. And the challenges for children, there will be new challenges. There will be maybe some of what we call the unfinished businesses, especially some of the MDG goals. For example, in northeastern and northern part of Kenya, we still have a lot of challenges. Some of the indicators are still lagging behind. How can we really work together with everyone to bridge those gaps for children, and everyone, especially every children in Kenya, have an equal opportunity to survive, to learn, and to be protected? In this celebrating moment, thanks again for everyone to join us. This is a really celebrating moment, and in Save the Children Theory of Change, we want to be that voice for children. We are the advocate for children's voice. We want to be the innovator. We want to build partnership to achieve results at the scale. And especially, I think partnership is the core of whatever we do. And the partnership is all of us, especially I think the children, the youth, the mothers, the frontline workers, we're working every day, as well the policymakers who helps us to push and champion for children's issue. There are still many challenges when you're walking through the gallery. You can see there are some indicators lagging behind. There will be more challenges to come, but I think we all work together, we should tackle those challenges step by step, and we will see a bright future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Wang La, for that detailed journey that we've done over the last 100 years. And I think as I listen to her, as we transition to the next session where I want to listen to the experiences of people and what they've gone through, as I listened to Wang La, one of the things that came to mind was, and I believe all of us have at some point attempted to do a master's degree where you are trying to talk about a null hypothesis, and then if you didn't find enough data, you'd approve that it is either true or not true. And as I listen to Angela, one of the things that I'm coming to realize is that everything you do has a direct impact on children. And that's the null hypothesis I want us to listen through as people will be talking here today. To help us in the next session, where we are listening to some of the stories from Save the Children, I would want to invite Elizabeth Miruri, our Regional Communications Director, to walk us through. And as she's coming here, I'd want you to listen to the experiences of people from the perspective of every decision you make or everything you do has a direct or indirect impact on children. So Elizabeth, please. Let's appreciate her as she comes over. Elizabeth, you have the task of being the professor for that.
Welcome to a 100 Years for Children panel session, and I'll be asking my panelists to come forward. Kennedy Miruka, please come forward. Brian and Fanny, please come forward. And our mother, Mary, Mother Champion, please come forward. Is Maura here from Starehe? Please also come forward. So welcome to our session today. It's 100 Years for Children. At the back of the room is a timeline. And the timeline shows you 1919 to 2019. I hope you've interacted with the timeline. Each of our panelists here interacted with that timeline at some point. And what they'll be doing is to share their story with us. How did they interact? How did they interface with Save the Children? And there's nothing as good as hearing their story. To start us off will be Kennedy Miruka from Starehe, actually Old Starehe Society, and he will take us through his journey. So Kennedy, welcome to our session today. Would you like to tell us about your journey with Save the Children?
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Yes, my name is Kennedy Miruka. I'm an alumni of Starehe Center. Yeah, so thank you. Sorry for the microphone. My name is Kennedy Miruka, an alumni of Starehe Boys Center and the executive officer of the Alumni Association called the Old Starehean Society. So I joined Starehe way after Save the Children had left. But what Save the Children left is what we found. Without Save the Children, Starehe wouldn't have been what it was. So I joined in 2003 and I left in 2006. And after college, I came back to Starehe to serve in the same mission that Starehe serves. So maybe just briefly to say the story of how we've interacted in that timeline. I think we come into the picture around the 1950s, which strikes a very similar relation with the starting of Save the Children. It was started during the World War in 1919. Starehe was started in 1959. Again, during the Mau Mau uprising against, it was a war situation as well. And there were a lot of, repression on the children and the youth. Many of them became orphaned. They spent their life in the streets. And ideally, Starehe just started on a compassionate level by Dr. Griffin, who, again, similarly, the names are similar with the founder of Save the Children. We call him Geoffrey or Jeff, and the founder is Jebb. So during that time, in the start, it was the only capital that Dr. Griffin had was faith. He didn't have funds, but he had faith that he can do something to save the children of Kenya, most of whom were, orphaned by the Mau Mau fights. Now, Dr. Geoffrey Griffin was, a soldier of the British, and then at one point, he got disillusioned about the brutality that was being meted out to Africans at that time. And he had to work with the same Africans to set up Starehe Boys Center. So the first two people that joined Dr. Griffin were boys from detention camps at Manyani, where Dr. Griffin had gone to help in just, rehabilitate them. So they became his co-founders. And they were fighters in the Mau Mau. So we have two opposite sides fighting, engaged in war, coming together bound by faith, and I hope that something good can come out of it. So that was the situation of the founding. And the first support came from Kenya Shell, who donated 2 tin huts, where the first boys from the streets came and slept. And so if you heard what Dr. Griffin says is that boys kept coming, some were being brought by the authorities, and they were there in plenty. They were just so much. So his only issue is how to feed them, how to clothe them, and basically how to educate them. So that's where the Save the Children came in around 1960s. So there was a rescue center called Place of Safety in Karioko that Save the Children was running at that point in time. And Dr. Geoffrey Griffin had approached them. Now the coming in of Save the Children to Starehe made, Dr. Griffin was running Starehe Boys Center. He was also helping to set up a number of youth initiatives across the country. And Save the Children, when it came on board, it just changed the entire dynamic. Starehe was in a space the same as this size of this hall with 2 tin huts. But Save the Children was now able to open doors for Starehe. Save the Children went and talked with the Oxfam, with the Dalverton Trust. So there was a lot of international donor funding coming in. And so Starehe was now able to recruit more staff. And unlike some of the donors that, just come and make a donation and go away, Save the Children stayed with Starehe up to, from the 1961 there up to around 1996, mid-90s. And it kept giving annual grants that was able to run the operations of the school, enabled it to expand, enabled it to get, technical people to be able to actually build the institution. So I think that's where we interact with. Now, where I come in at this point is that right now Save the Children is not continuing that support. But the impact of Save the Children is very evident because the people that benefited from that are right now making the same impact to Starehe. Save the Children would have failed if to date we still relied on them for support at Starehe. But one critical success that I can share with you is that today Starehe relies more on its alumni than the international donors that were there. Oxfam is no longer there, Save the Children is no longer there, Chalice is no longer there, and the largest sponsors of the children at Starehe are the alumni. Today, we have an endowment fund run by the alumni, set up by the alumni, and it keeps over 172 students in Starehe every year. Beyond that, we also have general alumni activities, always fundraising, always, mentoring the boys, doing renovations for their boarding facilities, and 90% of the support that goes to the boys and the girls, and right now we have a girls' school, come from the alumni. So I think that's a demonstration, and good evidence that, Save the Children did in fact, change the lives of those people who are now able to do that today. Another example that I can give in the public life of, our alumni, for example, starting from Peter Kenneth, who was an MP at Gatanga. He had the best managed CDF in his constituency. Going to Raphael Tuju, who is currently a cabinet secretary. At Rarieda, when he was an MP, he had the best managed CDF fund. Going to Ken Okoth, who is a beneficiary of Save the Children Fund in Kibra, his CDF has been the best running. And they are so passionate about education, they invest so much in children, which makes the impact even more profound than other people. So we have permeated every aspect of the society, from government to the civil service, to even private charities. I'm sure even in this room, we have a lot of alumni who serve in Save the Children itself. So I think the story of Starehe cannot be told without the story of Save the Children. And the impact is largely visible. And myself, I work just to coordinate the alumni and the activities they do. And every day there's an inspiration of, what we can do when we think the way Save the Children Founders thought. We have a girl right now planning to climb Lodwa to raise funds to keep another girl in high school. We have other boys going to scale Mount Kenya just to keep, boys and girls in school, give them education, give them clothing. We have our own chairman of the society going to walk for over 350 kilometers from Nandi Hills to Nairobi just to do that support. We have other alumni who are going to ride bicycles from one end of Kenya in Busia to the other end in Mombasa just for that support. And so many alumni have come together in various groups to make sure that they can, support the students. And why this passion that they have? Number one is they benefited from charity, and so they would like to also give back. Starehe admits 70% of its students based on faith. They come without basic needs, no soap, no supplies, no food, no toiletries. They just come. And when they come there, there's no money set aside for them. So we receive them, and then we now look for those necessities for them to keep them in school. We provide for them tranquility, we provide for them safety. If they are from disturbed families, we provide all that counseling, we give them an education, and the transformation that happens after that is immense. And I think that's the story I wish to share with you as we celebrate this centenary celebration of Save the Children. It cannot, Starehe cannot have been 60 years today without Save the Children. This year we are celebrating 60 years just because we had the support of Save the Children that enabled us to survive all those other years. So we invite you to keep partnering with us. We are still willing to partner with you. The Old Starehan Society is doing similar work, and there are several avenues that we can partner with to advance that work, not just in Starehe, but in other parts of the country. One thing about Starehe is that it took students from all over the country. From every village that you go to, you'll find a Starehian. Some of them are right now engaged in leadership of those places, and members of parliaments, governors, and all that. And some of them have schools that run like Starehe. So we can continue that partnership with Save the Children. We are doing similar work, and you are our mentors because our aspirations are like you. We'd wish to one day, sit in a meeting like this, celebrating 100 years of changing lives and transforming them into productive members of the society. Yeah.
Thank you, Kennedy. You've had it for yourselves. I'd like to hear it from the audience now. Is there an alumni of Starehe here? An alumni of... Thank you. Please stand up. Quick one, take us through your journey. We want to hear it from you, just not from Kennedy. The mic is here.
Thanks, Kennedy. Unlike Kennedy...
Introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. My name is Anthony Njoroge. Currently working with Save the Children at the region office as a senior program manager, focusing on protection of children in conflict.
What does it mean to invest in the life of a child in terms of education?
I think, just to respond to your question, I think in terms of, if you want to measure what impact is, it's the longevity of the work that you did, how long it sustains itself after you've gone. So when I look at the journey that Kennedy has just spoken about from Starehe, from 1996 from 1996, yes, when Save the Children scholarships ended, the work that Save the Children was investing continues to date. And that's a mark of the impact of the kind of value that Save the Children planted within the boys. Like for me, if I look at myself, I grew up in Dandora. At the time when Mongiki was coming up, and had it not been for what, when you talk about Starehe, it's a Swahili word for safety, comfort. But that the phrase Kennedy mentioned on place of safety was actually real for a lot of young people, because for some of us, had it not been for that space, we probably could have been pulled into those groups growing up in Nairobi. And also it was a place where we got to meet so many other people from different parts of the country, and we've built a very strong network that keeps each other going. The bit about, again, what it means to invest in a child is, if you look at what Kennedy talked about, Kenneth Koth, and the work he's doing in Kibra today, airlifts of other students who are going to the US, building high-level education infrastructure in Kibra. That's what it meant to invest in that one boy years back, because Ken Okoth was a direct beneficiary of Save the Children. And today he's giving back in leadership. And I think even when you talk about some of the members of parliament who stand out, he's one of those who I think universally, whether you cut off political parties or anything, you can actually say, yeah, we admire this guy for what he stands for. And that's what I would say is in terms of what I think is what an investment does.
We will now meet Mary. Mary is a kangaroo mother care champion mother. As you all know, one of the stands there talks about kangaroo mother care, and I really want to encourage you to visit the stands. Kangaroo mother care is the early, prolonged, continuous skin-to-skin contact between mother or her surrogate and a low birth weight infant. And Mary here is a champion. Mary.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary Wairimu. I'm a champion mother. I want to give the story of the 100 years, because I never existed. But my journey started back in 2017 when I was pregnant. And at 4 months, I was ill, 4 months pregnant, and I visited the doctor. After the scan, I realized I had twins. And at the early stage, the doctors told me, it is very hard for you to move all the way up to 9 months, so be ready for anything along the way. So I carried my pregnancy up to 7 months. That's when I started being disturbed by the pressure, BP, and the doctors decided to remove the babies. I was operated. I went through the CS. My babies were 2.5 kgs and 1.5 kgs. And I had the chance to meet my babies after the third day when I gained conscious. And when I went to the NBU room, I was very discouraged. My first twin was 2 kgs, and the other one was 1 kg flat. That is 1,000 grams. and that is when my journey started. I was feeding my babies through NG tubes. It was very discouraging. I remained in the hospital for a whole month. That is from December 2017 on 27th up to January 23rd. That is 28 days. And when I was in the NBU, that's when I met the staffs from the Save the Children. I met Akina Elsie and the others. And that is when they gave me information about kangaroo mother care. As you have been told, kangaroo mother care, it is a prolonged or a continuous skin-to-skin contact between the mother or the caregiver and the surrogate or the preterm baby or the other weight. And that is when they gave me the knowledge on how to put 2 babies on the chest. Okay. For the people who don't know about the kangaroo mother care, the chest have to be open. You must not be in blur. You should not wear a blur. So you see how discomfort it is. Then you have 2 babies. You are suffering from the CS. Here is the BP. And you have to do it because babies are God-given. They are gifts. They are free gifts. And so that is when I started the journey. Kangarooing 2 babies. It was very hard, but I remained strong from January 2018, that is. Then, after, still Save the Children, they taught me how to breastfeed 2 babies at a go. And up to now, my babies are a year and almost 5 months. While in the house, I don't bother myself calling people come and help me. I just remove my blur, hold one baby and hold the other. You can see how God have made me strong up to now. They are there, you can see them. So holding a baby off, the boy is 12 kg and the girl is 9. So it is a total of 21 kgs. You are breastfeeding at a go. And God has blessed me because you can't see I'm still breastfeeding twins. I'm very strong. Sijakuwa ati shingo imekuwa. Si niko na afya na nanyonyesha watoto wawili. Still, they taught me on how to feed. Personally, to feed. Sio kukula tu ugali na boga. I was taught how to eat a well-balanced diet during that process of breastfeeding. Personally, I breastfeed my babies for 6 months exclusive without even a drop of water. And that is when I started feeding. They also taught me how to breastfeed my babies if I want my babies to remain strong, to grow healthy. And for your information, they started walking at 11 months. We've never skipped any milestone. And I thank God for that. Then, back to 2018, after being discharged from the hospital, I received a call after 1 week. I had not healed. And I was given a chance by Save the Children to teach the mothers in the ward, in the facility, how to do kangaroo mother care. And that is how I have been doing it since Feb 2018 up to January 2019. That is when their support stopped. And I also have another fellow mother there. She's Georgina Mutua, my fellow champion. We have come all the way. We met after being given that chance. Georgina, you can say a hi.
Thank you, Mary.
I would like to thank Save the Children and ask if be given another chance, we can continue spreading the information to other mothers, because when the mothers in the ward, when a nurse appears and tells her, do kangaroo mother care, she has a question, unaniambia nifanye kangaroo lijulia wapi? Do you have an example? But that time when we were doing it, unaenda na mtoto unamwambia, this baby was at one point 1,000 grams, that is 1 kg. Huyo mama anashanga na anasema, let me start it. Na anaanza kufanya kangaroo mother care. So it is my request. God bless you.
Mary, just one question. Where huduma ya KMC ulipata wapi?
Yeah.
Ya kangaroo mother care.
Kangaroo mother care. Okay.
Hospitali gani?
Nilikuwa Mama Lucy Kibaki.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. So I have two budding youth. Fanny will introduce herself and also take us through your journey with Save the Children.
Thank you. All protocols observed. Good morning. My name is Fanny Otieno from Kenya Children's Assembly. In Kenya Children's Assembly, I'm the Deputy Speaker, Nairobi County. And I must say that, okay, I started my journey way back in 2011. I was in Standard 5 at that time. So that was the time I was introduced to the KCA, that is Kenya Children's Assembly. First, we started 8 in the locals. That one was the district. And then from there, like, we used to hold elections. So, like, you know, we were these children who were, like, tulikuwa vierere, I must say. So I can say that that thing has helped me a lot, because through that, we used to, like, mingle with other children, and then, like, we would share our, like, we can say that if you want our rights, you have issues first, right? And before you give out your issues, you must have that platform. That's the thing. So we used that opportunity, and from Standard 5, I went all the way to Form 4, and in the middle, I can remember when I was after Standard 8, I must say that I did averagely well, and after that, coming from a humble background, because I live in Eastlands, particularly Eastleigh South. So my parents were so happy, but at the same moment, they were sad. Like, they were happy for me, like I had passed, but they were sad because they were wondering how would they help me. Because when the calling letters came, I had been selected in one of the national schools. That one was Chogoria Girls, and that one was my dream school. So I was like telling my parents, wow, Mom, I've been called to a national school. But she was like looking at me, and she's like, okay, you've been called to a national school, but you know that you'll not go there. And then I was like telling her, no, Mom, I'll go there. Then she was like, okay, if you say so. So this one really challenged me, because I knew that coming from a family of like 7 children, and the parents paying school fees for the 7 kids, it will not be easy. So this is where I realized that using KCA as a platform would really help me. So I went to the children's office, because like I had interacted with them. So at the children's office, that is when I met the DCO, and the DCO together with, like, I can talk of Madam Jennifer, she's here. I must really appreciate her, because they've really helped me a lot. That is how they connected me with the Save the Children. I must say that this is where Save the Children came in. Like, I had passed, yes, but I didn't know if I would go to school. So the DCO, together with Save the Children, they like organized for me to like join my high school. I must sincerely say that my parents never removed even a coin from their pockets, but I still made it to the school. So when in school, I used to tell because, you know, like going to a national school and you are from the Eastlands, the people are like, Hiya, how did you make it here? And I used to tell them, it is because of the Children Assembly, together with these organizations, which Save the Children is the main one. This is how I got here. And they were like, wow, tell us more about it. So that is where I used to collect my friends and other people, and I would really tell them more about this Children's Assembly and the organizations, and they would be like, wow, this is not in our areas, and I will tell them that these things, like, they're there, and you'll find that when we go for the holidays and we come back, they'll be like, yeah, I heard of it, and I had a friend, like, go to the meetings, and, like, we learn more about them. So this is how I got to, like, get the help, and I learned up to Form 4. I finished Form 4 last year, and I must say that I did my best. I got a B, and I'm still hoping to, like, pursue my, I want to become a journalist, that is, and I believe that I will become a journalist. And this, through the journalism, this is how I will be able to, like, bring awareness. I will tell them, like, I will tell of this story, that were it not for Save the Children, together with KCA, for real, together with the government, that one I must say, because the government also helped in, like, giving the parliamentary, like, the bursaries, they really helped a lot. So I would say that as we celebrate this 100 years, yes, I was not there the 100 years, but I must say that I'm celebrating even the 2 years, the 3 years, because I benefited. And it's not only me that benefited. Definitely, we cannot all be here, because we always say that there's no way you can celebrate helping me when I'm not here, you see? So this celebration takes place because, like, I'm here, I can testify. Like, I'm saying that this is really true. You're not just celebrating, like, something that is not there. So I would really like to, like, urge other organizations and the government to, like, collaborate with Save the Children, like, so that we can bring awareness. Like, the greatest challenge, I must say, nowadays, it's not the fundings. We always complain of the fundings, but it's not the fundings. Mostly, it is the awareness. Like, you can say that, okay, we are here, Save the Children is here, but if you tell the child in Dandora, does he know that it's there? Does he know? If you go to, like, a place in Parklands, because most of us assume that only those people who come from the maybe Eastlands or marginalized communities, like, those ones are the only ones who have challenges. But I must tell you that no. Even those ones who are well off, my friend, they're also passing through challenges. But you can't know if you don't talk to them. So this is how, like, it is just a challenge. I would like the organizations to work with Save the Children, with the government, to help more children, like, touch a child's life. That is always my dream. And as we always say with my colleague, like, you can, like, there is nothing, you cannot talk about me when I'm not there. Like, nothing for me without me, you see. So I must be there so that you celebrate me. So that is why I'm so happy that you decided at least to include us, that when you go outside there, we can say that truly it was there. We don't just say it in television and we're like, maybe it's not there. We will, like, we'll be saying it is true, it is there. Thank you.
And lastly, Brian, in summary, the timeline. How do you interface with Save the Children as we close?
Maybe for one, you'll allow me to stand. I'm one person who doesn't like comfort zones. Please. For one, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Musyoki Mutua, outgoing speaker at the national level for Kenya Children Assembly, and the current governor to Nairobi County, the Kenya Children Assembly. Okay? So those of you who have come from outside Nairobi, welcome. As Fanny has said, anything about me without me is against me, and that is what we champion for as the Kenya Children Assembly, and I am very grateful for taking this opportunity to invite us to be part of this great event. Thank you very much. Now, one thing that I've noticed is we really have champions in the room, and it is a very great honor to have Mama here and the children. Well done, very well done. Not so many people are able to do what she's able to do. And another thing is, for my brother from Starehe. One thing I enjoy the motherhood coming from Nairobi School. Dr. Griffin is an alumni of Nairobi School. So one way or the other, whatever is in Starehe Boy Center came from Nairobi School. I finished high school last year. I got a B+ from Nairobi School. Thank you. And I'll just read a short speech written by the members of the Kenya Children Assembly. Please allow me to do so. Okay, making it 100 years is no joke, considering that even our elderly relatives are nothing close to that. Please clap for yourselves. You've managed to maneuver through the centuries. Only people who have love, dedication, and best interest of the child can be able to do a great job. As children and adolescents, we owe it to ourselves and to you for the future to be bright. The investment has truly been felt. Investment in kangaroo mothers, investment in ending violence against children, investment in healthcare, investment in finishing malnutrition. Those are very great things you're doing. Do not feel inferior. Do not feel inferior. They might look like small steps, but baby steps always make it to the end. That I know. Now, taking up through the agenda of sexual reproductive health, taking up children living with disabilities, I am very touched. I feel like each one of you should get a sweet. I don't know. Last week, we were very privileged to be part of the inclusive transport launch of buses that carry people living with disabilities. Now, the BRT vehicles that are coming to Kenya, 67 of them, 5 are going to be set aside for children living with disabilities. And we want Save the Children to be part of it. That is one of the tasks I'm giving Save the Children. I know I've been given the mandate to give you tasks. Because it's your birthday, you're moving forward. Because children, one living with disability and being a child, those are two very hard things to live with. I don't know if you see the aspect I'm seeing. And then I am still trying to wrap my head around how you have managed to adopt through the changing diversities through time. That one of you will tell me later on. And now, instead of aging, you're growing younger because you're working with and for the children. That is something you don't hear on a daily basis. That is truly something you don't hear on a daily basis. One thing that stood up for me is that this table made it to making it the top number of years they participated in child development. So I think the lower part of the cake should be theirs. I don't know if you're seeing that. They should get the big part of it. Now, the main purpose why I stand here is to advocate for child participation through the Kenya Children Assembly. It has been a success story for one, but along the way, talk of issues of funding and creation of awareness, we are not really penetrating. In as much as we in all the 47 counties, the issue of funding is still becoming a problem. So save the children, please save your children. For real, Kenya Children Assembly or child participation is a very good thing. Why? Because you get the inputs of the children from their own mouths. And they do not only tell you, these are our challenges. Imagine what do? They make the work very easy for you. They give you the very attainable solutions. Because the wearer of the shoe know where it pinches most. They will tell you, there is where you want you to touch. There is where you want you to change. Okay. So for me, I think child participation is very important because in as much as it brings out the challenges, it also brings us a attainable solution. Now, what do I call it? My vote is that Save the Children should take up child participation as very important. I'm very glad that last month we were here for a global meeting with Save the Children, and they invited us as children to participate. That was very good. Please clap for yourselves. We had a very interesting conversation. We had very involving meetings with people from all over the world, and they were very happy that Kenya involved children in issues affecting them. Because you can imagine not involving the person you're talking about in the conversation itself. they will definitely feel violated in one way or the other. Now, there's also an emerging issue of online child protection. And I think that, for me, is very sensitive, considering that 89% of our population is connected to the internet, and 54% of that population is children. Then our children are dying with these gadgets. These very gadgets they carry each and everywhere. Things to do with cyberbullying, which they end up committing suicide. Things to do with child pornography, which is very, very hurting. Things to do with sexting. There are a lot of things surrounding the issue of online protection for children. And that, for me, will be a homework for Save the Children to go and deliberate on and see the way forward, because imagine you're the only people we are looking at. You're the only help we are looking at. The same way Dr. Griffin did not have anywhere else to go but Save the Children. That is my take, and I thank you very much for involving children and youth in this very event. Happy birthday to each and every one of you, and thank you.
Thank you, Brian. We now end our session. I would like to invite you to speak to any of the panelists during the break or later on. Get to hear from them if there are questions in the interest of time, so that we move on to the program. I will invite the MC, Kevin. Please come and let's carry on with the program. But thank you, panelists. Have your seats.
Guys, let's appreciate them properly as they sit down. Let's appreciate them. Let's continue clapping until they sit down. Do not grow weary. First, I must apologize for a protocol breach. I didn't know we had the governor of Nairobi in the house, so my apologies. And also we had the deputy speaker in the house, so my apologies for that. And I think one of the things I've highlighted, Wangla, as a team helps me clear the seats from me as we transition to the next program. The table for ECD, please help me with these seats. That's how you get to 183 years of experience. Now, one gentleman. I'm seeing some gentlemen looking at me. Wangla, there's something the Nairobi speaker has talked about. I actually didn't know that the Nairobi speaker can give you a mandate, but he's actually given you a mandate on what Save the Children will need to do. As the team was setting up, I asked you to listen to them through the lens of the null hypothesis, that everything you do or every decision you make has a direct impact on children. And I think from the stories you've heard, some are about the right foundation for prosperity, others are about matters of life and death, others are about aspiration that young people have. And I think I must correct another misnomer that was made here, because I remember when she was talking about the kangaroo mother care, and I'm referring to the people in the western part of this country. She said, sio kukula tu ugali na mboga. I mean, for the people in Western, there is no problem with ugali and mboga. But I think the point she was talking about was the diversity of the food that we need to eat. And then the current speaker spoke about when she went to school and people say, are you from Eastlands? And I think I'll take a poll at this stage. She mentioned Isili, and I almost asked her which street, because some of us are also from those areas. So how many are born and bred in Eastlands? And you need to be proud of your roots. No problem. Jane, your hand is down. Okay. So that's the Eastlands bit. And that's only in Nairobi. But you can imagine children as far as from Wajir, Mandera, Turkana, the inequalities that are there. And as you listen to the story, don't just have a perspective of Nairobi. Have a perspective of the entire country and begin to project. How would Kenya look like 100 years after we've marked today? I'm sure it has got something to do with the decisions we make. It has got something to do with the decisions we make, not just in the institution, but at your personal house, at the household level. For now, let's talk about strategy. What are we aiming to do in the next 3 or 4 years as Save the Children? But before we transition to that, let me acknowledge the presence of Odhiambo Walter from SOS Children's Village, and also Blin from TDH Kenya, the country director, as well as I think those are the two that walked in when you were speaking, just to acknowledge your presence on that. To walk us through what Save the Children Kenya is aiming to do in the next 3 or 4 years in this country, I would want to invite Her Excellency, okay, no, not yet now. She's not a politician. I'd want to invite Jane Baggy to come and highlight for us, what are we aiming to do as a country office in this country? So let's clap for Jane as she's walking on stage. Jane, these guys are tired about strategy. This is strategy, where we are going to aim at. So Jane, over to you.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning, once again. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everybody has some breakfast, except for those who are fasting. So there should be some energy in the room. So thank you so much for making time to join us, Honorable Bahari. We appreciate your time. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed so that I don't miss anyone. Thank you for being here with us today. As we celebrate 100 years, we are excited. It's not every day that we see 100 years or we celebrate 100 years. Like, I think it's Brian who mentioned, even our relatives who are 100 years, most of them are gone. So we are glad to be here to be celebrating 100 years. But someone also mentioned, as we look at 100 years that have gone, we are also looking at the next 100 years. So I want us to talk about, so where do we want to be in the next 3-4 years? And I'm doing that as I wait for my team to project something on the screen. So as we came in, we walked around and saw the timeline where we've come from 1919 to where we are today. But we also talked about what Save the Children has achieved. And as we listened to the panel, the thing that kept coming to my mind is impact for children. 100 years of impact for children. As you listen to Kennedy from Starehe, you can tell that whatever was done then, we are talking about 60 years ago, is still impacting on children today. Because the products from that school are still doing things within their sphere of influence. And that speaks to what we do as Save the Children, because we believe whatever we do should bring about lasting change for children. And we should not be there forever. If Starehe could not survive without us, then we would have failed in our duty of making a difference by ensuring that we can influence the system and have things work differently. So my role is to tell us where we want to be, and I'm going to summarize what you've walked through. So it may not be very new to you, because if you did the walk around, that is what I'm going to summarize in a way that hopefully when we leave here we can remember. When we come for the next 100 years, I don't know how many of us will still be alive. When our children's children come for the next 100 years, the 200 years birthday, then we can look back to what we said. So Wangla mentioned that our ambition 2030, or where Save the Children as a whole looks at, is around children being able to survive, which means that they are able to survive beyond, that they don't die before their 5th birthday from preventable causes. And we are saying preventable causes because that means there's something that can be done about that. And learn from quality basic education, and then ensure that violations against children are not tolerated under the protection arm. So I'm going to take us through what we are proposing to do for the next 3 years. Our last country strategic plan ended in December 2018. We started a new country strategic period, 2019 to 2021. And my role this morning is just to take us through, in those 3 years, what do we want to be known for? What can you hold us accountable for when we come back here in 2021 at the end of the year? So I'm going to take us through our country strategic plan very briefly. Let's move on. And our vision and mission remains. It hasn't changed in the 100 years, and it will not change. Our vision is a world in which every child achieves their right to protection, development, and participation. So child participation, as Brian mentioned, is key to us because we want to hear the views of the people we are serving. Save the Children is about children, but what do children want? Are we able to meet the needs they would want us to? In terms of our mission, we want to inspire breakthroughs in the way the world treats children and achieve immediate and lasting change. That is speaking to the fact that what we do should have a lasting impact. If we listen to Mary talking about kangaroo mother care, it worked for her 2 twins who are 1 kg and 2 kgs, and they are alive today. But what she learned from that is something that she can tell to generations to come. It will not go away, and she can help many other mothers to ensure that their children survive. So our mission is to ensure that we are creating change that is immediate and lasting for children. And our goals are anchored on the Ambition 2030, like I mentioned. So whatever we are going to be doing in the 3 years is all anchored around survive, learn, and be protected. So you'll hear those words a lot, and I'm sure you heard them as you walked around, because that's the essence of our being, ensuring that children survive beyond their 5th birthday, children learn from quality basic education, and violence against children is no longer tolerated. So I'll now go through the statistics, but this is what you heard as you walked around, where we are talking about 1 in every 3 children having experienced sexual abuse. We are talking about 43% of children in Northeastern having not attended preschool. We are talking about 25% of neonatal deaths. That's deaths within the first 28 days, dying from prematurity. And these are things that can be prevented. 14% of under 5 mortality due to pneumonia. These are the things that we are saying should not be happening because something can be done about it. So this is the context in which we are operating, and this sort of provides a framework of what we've decided to do in the next 3 years. This shows us where we work. We do take cognizance of the fact that we cannot do everything everywhere. So we've had to make choices based on where the statistics are dire or where children are most vulnerable or most marginalized, because our focus is the children that are most marginalized, most vulnerable. So if you look at the areas that are in red, that is Turkana, Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, and Bungoma, those are places we have an office at Save the Children. So if you go to any of those counties, you will find an office, Save the Children. You look at the other counties, that is Kakamega, Kisumu, Migori, Kitui, we have programs running, but have a project office. So the office will not be reading Save the Children, it will have a project name, but we are reaching children in those areas as well. And the main reason why we are in those sort of 2 ends of the country is because northern Kenya happens to be the place where children are most marginalized, most vulnerable. If you look at every single indicator, it is the worst within that region. On the western side, on the other hand, because of the population, you have them contributing the highest share of maternal and child deaths to the national grid. So when you talk about the number of maternal and child deaths, the greatest percentage of that come from the western region. And that's how we've sort of spread ourselves. We also do manage a program in Madagascar, but we will not talk about this today because it's not within our remit as Kenya. So that shows where we work. So the other thing is looking at where do we want Save the Children to be by 2021? What would we want you to remember or to talk about us in 2021? We do want to still be the leading voice for children. We want to be able to speak out. Those issues that Brian was talking about, we want to be able to speak to them and bring them to the national debate and ensure that our country is talking about them. We want to be thought leaders on matters children. As we were walking around, a number of the presentations talked about documenting evidence. So we want to be able to document that evidence and be a thought leader on issues to do with children. That when you think about children's issues, you'd come to us for that information. We want to talk about best practice in terms of safeguarding practices. We say we are Save the Children, and our organization should be safe for children. And we want to be able to influence our partners, development partners, government, and everybody we work with to also ensure that their programs are safe for children. There are things we might do that might hurt children. How do we ensure? So when you talk about internet, it is a great resource, but how do we ensure that it is also safe for children, looking at the issues Brian was talking about? We also want to be known for consistently responding to drought, to emergencies, humanitarian crises. We talked about 80% of deaths being by floods. And droughts are something that we have cyclic. Right now we are almost staring at one in the next few months, unless the rains come. So looking at that, as Save the Children, we want to be right there because children are affected and therefore we are there to respond. We want to test and invest innovations. We want to try out models that work for children. We talked about kangaroo mother care. This is something that we tried out with Ministry of Health and partners about 3 years ago in Bungoma and Busia. But now we are having it in about half of the counties in Kenya. And we are hoping it can go to the rest of the country so that those preemies can survive and not die. And we also want to be a learning organization. We would want to learn as we implement. As we go through the programs, as we have done child participation with Kenya Children's Assembly, how do we pick up the learnings on what didn't go so well and what we can do different? So we are committing ourselves to be learning from the things that we are doing. So coming to the choices that we have made, having looked at the statistics, having looked at what we want to be known for, where we want to be, we had to make choices about what we focus on in the next 3 years. And we decided to focus on 6 things. And those are the things you walked across those boards and we walked in. So the first thing we want to do, we want to ensure that we are able to reduce maternal and childhood illnesses and mortality. That we'll do that what is within our power to ensure that children are no longer dying. Children and mothers are no longer dying from preventable causes. And that's what we're talking about maternal and child health. The other thing that we want to commit ourselves to and was around nutrition, reduce childhood malnutrition. because we realize undernutrition is the foundation, is sort of the bedrock of all those other illnesses that we are talking about that kill children. So how do we ensure that children have adequate nutrition? What Mary was referring to, not that when he said, usikule tu ugali na mboga, it's around nutrition for mothers and children. Child protection, Brian, we are also talking about advocating for functional and responsive child protection mechanisms. And this is the work we do with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection to ensure that we have our children protected. The protection mechanisms would be looking at that whole range, whether it is at home, it is at school, it is on the web. So looking at how do we ensure we have functional and responsive child protection systems, and children know where they can go for help, or parents know where they can go to help their children. Then we are looking at education, early childhood development, and this is because we believe that this is the foundation of learning. What happens at the ECD center determines how far one can go. We've always said that early childhood education is like the foundation of a house. If you want to do a 2-story house and you want to do a 10-story house, the foundation is going to be different. So early childhood is that foundation for our young children. So if we get that right, we are going to sort out some of the issues in our education system that are troubling us. So that's a key focus for us. But we do understand that for families to provide proper health and nutrition for their children, for families to protect their children, and for families to provide education for their children, they must have means of livelihood. So we are looking at resilient and sustainable livelihoods for the families that we work with. And we are saying resilient because we work in areas which are prone to shocks, whether it is conflict, it is drought, it is emergencies. So how do we have resilient livelihoods that can withstand that shock so that that household is able to provide for children? Unless we can sort out the livelihoods for these households we work with, our children will not survive, they will not learn, and they will not be protected. So they are all intertwined. And then the sixth one, we talked about adolescents and young people. As we walked around, I think we said 78% of Kenyans are below 35 years. So we have a huge youth bulge. So the question we were asking ourselves, what do we do with this? And we are talking about adolescents and youth because adolescence is, the 10, 14, 15, that we find is the age that children drop out of school. So when that child drops out of school, their life is shattered in terms of what it is they are able to achieve. So we are looking at ensuring that adolescents, youth, realize their rights to survival, health, nutrition, education, standard of living, and self-expression. That they can be able to stand here like Brian and Fanny and talk about their issues, irrespective of where they come from. That those youth and adolescents can be able to articulate their issues. And that's why we call it a cross-cutting goal, because it's going to touch on health and nutrition, it's going to touch on child protection, it's going to touch on education, and it's also going to touch on livelihoods, because some of those youth, we've equipped them with vocational skills so they are able to provide for themselves. So those are the things we'll be focusing on, and how do we make change? When we look at those 6 areas that we want to make change, our model for making change, or causing change, or what we call our theory of change, we have 4 things we look at. One is around being the voice. So we are able to speak about those issues, be they in health, be they in nutrition, be they in education, that we are able to raise those issues and bring them up. Talk about the inequalities in our country. Talk about the children who are marginalized and vulnerable. The other thing is around innovation. We want to test out models that work. So we know children are dropping out of school at the age of 10, 14. What can we do to ensure that they remain in school? How do we support those girls and boys to ensure they remain in school and finish school? Which is going to mean they don't get married early. And if they don't get married early, it means they're not going to have health complications when they get pregnant, because they're not going to give birth to children early, and therefore means they can make something better out of their life. Remember, we are saying that all children achieve their right to survival, protection, development. The third thing is achieving results at scale. So how do we ensure that we can influence the system? Whether it's the county governments we work with, the national government, or even our peer agencies, how do we ensure that we can influence them? Because like I showed, we are working in some 10 or so counties out of 47. But the interventions that we do and make change for children, we would want other counties also to benefit. So the same way we've been able to get kangaroo mother care into 26 or 20-something counties, how all the models that we do, how do we do that? It is working with the county governments, sharing that evidence and advocating for it, as we were mentioning when walking around, to get into the county development plans, because that's a blueprint of what the counties are doing. And then in between, we are cognizant of the fact that we cannot do it alone. And that's why you're sitting here today as our partners, because it's partnerships with government, partnerships with development partners, partnerships with our peer agencies, and partnerships with the communities we work with and we work for. So we look at being the voice, innovating, achieving results at scale, and building partnerships. So by the time you leave here, where I'm taking you through our goal for the next 3 years, I'm hoping that you're seeing where you link up with us and we can talk about how we can partner and make a difference for the children of Kenya. And then how do we do it? So we have 3 ways that we are looking at achieving change. One is around direct service delivery. So we'll be out there and we'll provide services when needed, especially in humanitarian situations. So we'll be there to provide life-saving interventions. The other one is advocacy and technical support to the governments we work with, like I mentioned. So we will implement kangaroo mother care. We have evidence it works, then we will sit around the table and talk about it and see how we influence the county development plans. And that's an example of all the other models that we'll be working with. And the third one is about being thought leaders or the local voice for children. How do we keep that conversation alive? That what Brian is talking about, those are issues we are amplifying or giving them a platform for them to talk to their leaders. In around 2017, we did a children's charter where we had about 40 counties, children discussing what the issues are, and then they had meetings with their county representatives to table their issues and talk about what it is that bothers them, what is it that makes them happy. So that gives you a snapshot of what we want to do in the next 3 years, and our mantra is we are in this for children. Everything that we do is for the children of this country, because that is our foremost interest. So we are in this for children, so as we celebrate 100 years of impacting children, we are looking forward to another 100 years of greater impact for children, an impact that lasts beyond us being there. So that even at the point of the children may not be in Kenya, because that's our ideal. If we get things right and we influence systems and we have everything working, Save the Children may not be needed, but the impact should still be there for the children of Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jane. Now you understand why I call her Her Excellency. She's very articulate, very passionate, and Jane can talk about food security, health, nutrition, education, all with one passion. Thank you so much, Jane, for putting all these into perspective. Let's appreciate that. I think one of the questions that Jane was asking indirectly as she presented a strategy is that, do you think there's still space for Save the Children to do more work in this country? Is there a need? When you looked at the map of Kenya, when you looked at the media news, when you ask yourself some of the things you go through as a parent, some of the things children go through, do you think there is space or time, opportunities for Save the Children to work? What the Nairobi governor presented to us was, how have we been able to keep young by working with children? Because issues have kept changing. And one of the things we are aiming to focus on as we do strategy is how do we become relevant in each and every phase. And that, for me, is the gist of what Jane was presenting. Now, there'll be a few things being distributed with regards to the CSP, but not just to distract you, or actually just for you to see into perspective what Jane was presenting. And I think coming down to how you look at the country strategic plan, through the lenses of children, I would want to invite some remarks from the Department of Children. I want to invite Maurice Uma, the head of Child Protection Division, to come and look at our strategy and tell us, is it really child-friendly? How does it speak to children? Are the statements that have been said, would they be approved by children? So let's invite him as he makes his remarks, please.
Our chief guest, Honorable Abdul Bahari, our Senator Farhia Ali, the country director, Save the Children, Wangla, that is how we invited guests, our beloved children in the house. Good morning. My name is Maurice Suma. I head Child Protection Division of the Department of Children's Services. And the 100 minus 30, I think the 30 was almost coming to me because I've been in this field for quite a long time. I want to thank Save the Children for inviting us to this occasion. It's 100 years since Save started, but as a department we started earlier because the Department of Children's Services started in 1911, and we are growing strong. We have been interacting with Save and very many other partners in trying to protect our children who are facing So many challenges in this republic. The many challenges revolve around physical violence, sexual violence, and emotional violence. Our children are suffering. Mheshimiwa, when I walked through those strategic areas, 16% of children do not attend preschool. I could be one of them because I didn't go to preschool and I didn't find it anything big. But now I'm realizing that that is where my foundation for education was to be built. But we can overcome. I think I overcame that challenge and I made it in life. But these 16% of our 52% is a big number. It's quite a big number. 43% in Northeastern have never attended preschool. I've worked in that region and the challenges are real. These challenges are real. As head of child protection in the department, I come into contact with the real challenges when I move around in the field. Sexual violence, and especially in these arid and semi-arid lands, is like it's happening without many parents either noticing or they look the opposite direction when it's happening. Around the examination time last year, we had about 13,000 girls in Kilifi being pregnant. That is sexual violence to these children. When I went to the ground, the figure is actually 17,000 children having been sexually abused by adult males, like Suma here, and they don't care. Sometimes we get the challenge of cooperation between the victim and the abuser. We also have a challenge of cross-border issues where children are being trafficked from neighboring countries, neighboring counties to Nairobi, and also past Nairobi to other places. This is real. The Garissa-Nairobi route is becoming a challenge for us. We are getting children from Somalia. When they land in Mwingi, they are told to be in the country illegally, and we are told to take them back to Somalia without establishing that these children are being trafficked either to South Africa or other areas in this world. We also have FGM as a challenge in the department because these days, as much as Kenya is aware of the practice and we have tried to stop it, parents are taking their children to neighboring countries. When they're on holiday, this practice happens and the child will be in the room for some time because that is the time she's healing. We know about it. We have been told by our counterparts in Tanzania that you Kenyans are bringing your children this way to do things which are not good in your own country. Children are our heritage and we need to protect them. There are some areas like Isiolo, Kwale, and other areas are not covered by SAVE. My appeal is that SAVE should focus on these areas because that is where real issues are. Nairobi, sisi ni wajuaji, we know what we want, But those areas, people may not really know what is really happening within our homes. Let's move to those ASAL areas. That is where sometimes you get a child who has not been going to school, tending to our goats and cows, but this child is missing out on education, an important right as far as children are concerned. When I was on tour of duty in Kilifi, they baptized me Bishop for Children. When it comes to talking about children, I can be here for the next 2 hours. But for today, let me also thank the many partners who have been invited to this celebration, because we work very closely with the big 6 international NGOs, the UN agencies. They have been very supportive to our activities. When I was going through her presentation, I know where we fit in, but I have a request to Save the Children that we are also preparing our strategic plan as a department. We would like to request for your support. Let me not talk more about children, because I'll be here for so many hours if I continue discussing about the many challenges our children are facing, which really depress me, because that passion for you to work in this field for nearly 30 years, you have to be passionate for children. If you are not, you cannot make it. You can't. Because at the middle of the night, you'll be called, here is a baby who needs to be rescued. And you are in your comfort zone. You have to be passionate to survive working for and with children. At this juncture, I want to invite our chief guest to address us, Honorable Abdul Bahari. Karibu, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you very much, Bwana Suma. You spoke so eloquently. I don't know what else to add, given that you are also our technical person in this field. Our country director for Save the Children, Mheshimiwa Farhia, distinguished guests here, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good morning. I must say, we already got more than what we bargained for. I did not expect actually this much. I'm very impressed. The way this celebration is simple, but so impactful. And has left a mark, actually, with all of us, perhaps, who have been here, particularly the guests. And I think this has been clearly demonstrated by the evidence that was displayed before us here. I must say that the Cabinet Secretary, Ambassador Okure Atani, would have wished to be here, but all the key persons in the department, or in the ministries rather, are away attending a session with Parliament. You know, this is the budget cycle time. So they have gone out to defend our budget. I should have been there with them, but it was decided that I represent the ministry here, which I will endeavor to do, me and Mr. Suma. So you have, please mupokee greetings from him. Mumepokea? Yeah? Now, without wasting time, I want to read the speech on his behalf and then probably make a few comments at the end. The country director, Save the Children, Kenya and Madagascar program, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to join you today during these celebrations to mark your 100 years of impact on children globally. Your program have delivered results for children in Kenya and around the world, giving them a healthy start in life, an opportunity to learn, and protection from all forms of abuse. Your rich history since 1919, when your founder launched Save the Children Fund to assist children affected by the First World War, resonates deeply with the ministry's focus on child rights. I want to assure you that my ministry will continue to work with actors who are ready and willing to improve the lives of our children and their families. And I think on that, we are already have been having meetings with the 6 key partners in the country who deal with children. They meet the cabinet minister every so often, and that is where we engage, we interact, we strategize, and I am sure, though we started this I think a year ago or less, we will progress that because we are all working for the same children, for the same citizens, and therefore we are attempting through that forum to ensure that our interventions are coordinated, they are impactful, and they are sustained. The government has achieved a lot in its effort on the promotion of rights and improvements of the welfare of our children. The ministry has been implementing cash transfer programs for vulnerable and orphan children for the last 15 years, which has seen 353,000 households benefiting from a stipend of 4,000 every 2 months, which is regular and predictable. This program has assisted families to retain OVC, orphan and vulnerable children, in the community. And in addition to that, we also give them support on scholarships. This program has assisted families to retain orphan and vulnerable children in the community. These children go to school and are assured of a meal every day. Apart from the cash transfer to orphans and vulnerable children, the ministry also, for your information, implements other cash transfers to cushion persons with severe disabilities and older persons, totaling to over 1.2 million households who are under this program. As you are aware, we are signatory to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the African Charter on the Rights and the Welfare of the Child. We have domesticated the 2 international legal instruments into the Children's Act 2001. However, my ministry has come up with the Children Bill, which aligns the children laws to the Constitution of Kenya. I wish to state that the welfare of children has greatly improved through programs the government has been implementing. Since we started the free primary education and the subsidized secondary education program, more children have enrolled in schools, and transitions and retention rates have greatly gone up. As we celebrate your 100 years today, I will urge all of us to reflect on the words of Nelson Mandela, who said that history will judge us by the difference we make in the everyday lives of our children. As a country, we must step up our efforts to provide solutions so that every child can have access to basic services like education, clothing, shelter, healthcare, and protection. It is encouraging to hear from your country director, Ms. Wangle, about the successful programming that you support in several counties, among them Turkana, Wajir, Mandera, Bungoma, Busia, Kisumu, Kakamega, Migori, Kitui, and of course Nairobi, that impact on children. My ministry has developed guidelines on the alternative family care program in order to give direction on how children should be handled in the event they are not under parental care. We are further developing guidelines on child online protection to address all forms of online child abuse. And to this extent, our ministry position is that children should be gotten out of institutions, they should be living with communities. That is their natural place, and on this one we are not compromising. Recognizing that the family is the best place where a child can grow and develop, the ministry has directed that there will be no more registration of charitable children's institutions. Children should grow within the communities they come from. We will enhance the institutionalization program and promote alternative family care initiatives to allow children to be brought up in a family or community environment. Institutions, that is, children institutions, should be the last place of last resort for a child. And mostly it should be on emergency basis. It should be only a place for transition to rejoin with the families. And as Africans, we had the extended families, we had the communities who are responsible. Our early days when we were playing in the field, in the manyatas, and you did not do something right, any elder, any mother, okay, will come up and make sure that you are corrected because you belong to the community, because you are the future of the community. And this is where we want to go back to institutionalize, let the kids live with communities, with extended families, and the like. Because we know that also with institutionalization, a lot of other challenges have come up, and we have enough already, and we don't want to add more by creating institutions or by promoting those institutions ourselves. Last year, the ministry, in collaboration with some partners, and that is what Mr. Suma was saying, conducted a survey on the violence against children in Kenya. The data is being analyzed by a team of experts, and once we receive the report, we will disseminate this to the public and the rest of the stakeholders. A national prevention and response plan is also being developed, that is up to 2022 from now onwards, to address the issues that has been raised in the survey. However, I note that there has been increased reporting of cases of violence against children, and legal actions have been taken. Today, I am pleased to see on your panel child participation. I think it is very evident, it is very encouraging, and I am honored when I hear how articulate they are about their rights and responsibilities. That is, the articulate they are is undisputed. This tells me that child participation is a reality. We can get children to articulate their needs. I am reminded of the children charter process in 2017 that collected views of children and young people in over 40 counties and provided children with an opportunity to share their thoughts on the issues that make them happy and those they are sad about. I wish to reiterate the ministry's commitment in continuing to support child participation platforms like the Kenya Child Assembly. I must also congratulate you for launching your country strategic plan, which is simplified, and I want to congratulate Her Excellency for the manner in which she presented that strategic plan, because it is simple, clear what is supposed to be done, and I'm sure if she did not mention anything, you can go and read. I have no doubt it is provided there. I reiterate the support of the ministry as we work together to achieve our strategic objectives in education, health, nutrition, child protection, livelihoods, maternal and child health. Listening to your country strategic plan for 2019-2021, I know that Save the Children is well aligned with the Big Four agenda, as you'll be focusing on reducing malnutrition, which speaks to the nutrition and food security agenda, and reducing maternal and child mortality and morbidity, which directly contributes to the universal health care. We commend you for that and look forward to working together for its realization. As a government, we are committed to ensuring that children enjoy their rights as per the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which Kenya ratified in 1990. As you celebrate your 100 years, I want to wish you many more years and hope that you strengthen your resilience for every last child to survive, learn, and be protected from harm. Investing in the future of children is a priority. And I must say that it is a true investment. It is not an expenditure. Because without investing in children, where is the future of that society? It will be nowhere. So investing in children is investing in the future of a country. And we must massively step up our efforts to be there for children when they need us most. Ladies and gentlemen, I must also add that our Constitution, the United Nations Charter, the African Charter, all that, has come out very, very clearly. And we have now seen what the genesis is through these celebrations, where this all started from. And we must say that has been quite impactful. Also, you have seen the figure 52%, which was presented here, of our population are children. So if we don't plan for children, if you don't invest in children, then you have failed to invest in Kenya, because that is where the highest population is. Also, more than 2/3 of vulnerable population in this country are children. And for the State Department of Social Protection, and by extension the ministry, then anybody who does not address matters of children in their plans, then is not adequately addressing, or is adequately addressing the needs of this country. So with those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, it is now, I believe, in order for me to declare your country's strategic plan officially launched, and I wish you the best in your centenary celebrations. God bless you.
Just before you say it, we want to launch this. Okay, let me invite the table with the most experience to come join me as we launch the CSP, the Country Strategic Plan. But thank you so much for your very kind comments about Save the Children's work. I think as they're setting up both the CSP and the table with the most experience is coming on board, I think when I heard His Excellency Honorable Abdul Bahari speak, I was reminded of when Obama was in the country. And I remember he spoke about, we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. Instead, we borrow it from our children. And I think when you mentioned investing on children is a priority, that resonates so well with what Save the Children stands for. So as our chef is doing the eggs, which is louder than my voice, please, I want the focus to be on the CSP that we're launching, and then later on, we'll cut the cake. So the CSP will be moved in front here. And with some very nice background music as they unveil our country's strategic plan, which was well presented by Her Excellency Jane Mutua. So let's unveil the country's strategic plan as we clap. Okay, they're moving the cake. Moses, please, just touch the table, not the cake. So, let's clap as they launch the country's strategic plan. Keep on clapping. This is a 3-year strategic plan, so you clap for 3 years. Keep clapping until I say stop. We are only on year 2. There's only one more clap for 1 more year. Thank you, thank you, thank you. When you see that there's a cake in front here, I don't want you to sit and then come back. It will be moved closer to you. These 2 men might make the cake fall. Can you be polite with the cake? His Excellency from Nairobi made a declaration that the lower part of the cake should be given to that table. But can we overrule that and just allow you to cut the cake? Or they want to turn it. They want to see their hand here. Can I have the Deputy Speaker, the outgoing, and the please come, help us cut this cake with the team. Sorry for the security breach as well. You have other excellencies in the room. Sure. Whoa. They've been given the honor to actually cut the cake. Can we have the children? Can we have the children come closer to this cake? Florence, let me have the children here. Okay. Big smiles as they're cutting the cake. Hey, please, can I have the children here? Please, let me have the children here. Those are our ambassadors for Kangaroo Mother Care. Please clap for them as they come in front. Wow. Now this is what is called Save the Children. Wow. Thank you. Lisa. Just one more. Let me invite Lisa on this photo, please. Thank you. Let's clap for them. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that colorful event. And now we are coming to towards the end of the program. And before I invite, thank you so much for that colorful event. And now we are coming towards the end of the program. And before I invite, guys, we didn't mean to record myself. Who is doing that thing? Before I invite, guys, we didn't mean to record myself. Thank you. I'm almost shy to talk now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you all for gracing the occasion. But to invite Joyce Umbima to give the vote of thanks, she's the chair of the Save the Children Kenya board. And as she gives us a vote of thanks, I'll also want to invite Eglantyne Momanyi. She sits in the African Advisory Board for Save UK. Please come and just issue some remarks before we get the vote of thanks, kindly. Just come, please. She'll speak first, then give it to you.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. My name is Eglantyne Momanyi. As mentioned, I sit on the Save the Children UK Africa Advisory Board, and I'm very glad to be here. Fantastic event, very, very awesome, and I'm happy to see the strategic plans that have been put in place. And as people who totally support and are extremely passionate about what Save the Children do, I am really excited to see everything coming in place, and we're going to be having more of such events. We're going to be having more of such engagements, and we're going to create awareness and elect what the outgoing president said in terms of creating awareness and speaking about it and letting people know exactly what the agenda behind of such organizations are. So I'm very proud to be associated with Save the Children Kenya, extremely proud. I'm very happy with all the programs that are being run. I got a chance to go to Turkana. I went to Turkana and I was able to visit different programs around the HIV and AIDS, around the malnutrition program, and also looking at what they're doing around education. And it was an awesome eye-opener being on the ground and totally experiencing firsthand the work that's being done by Save the Children. And trust me, when you get to see the actual work being done, you will be proud to be part of this organization. So going forward, we look forward to the next 3 years in terms of what has been put around the strategic plan. And I invite and just want to thank everybody for being part members, and we look forward to having more people on board, all the philanthropists, all the donors, all the communities, all the supporting organizations, and any friend of Save the Children. Thank you very much for coming, and we just hope for fantastic implementation of this program. Thank you.
Shall I say good morning again? Honorable Chief Guests, Administrative Secretary Abdul Bahari Ali, with your permission, may I share your title with the most honorable people in this room, the children. Honorable children, I'm so happy and glad and delighted that you're here. And on behalf of everybody here, I speak on your behalf that this is the beginning of another 100 years. The ones that we are celebrating are gone. Those children seated there, less than 1 year old or 1 year old, are the right people to begin the new century. And with them, we begin this century by saying we are committed. We are committed because you all turned up this morning through the traffic to come here and just join in this celebration for those founders who thought about this organization and put the ideas together and they lived to it. Can we also do the same? Can we say these are the ideas we believe in and live to them? Ladies and gentlemen, I acknowledge each and every one of you. Your titles, your organization, where you come from is important. And I can't mention each and every one and the organization that you're representing. But I want to say that if you said, I'm going and I'm here, it must mean something to you. And I thank you most sincerely for turning up on behalf of Save the Children. I want to thank the representatives of several organizations that I know work with Save the Children. I personally have been a partner with Save the Children, not from inside, but from outside, for many years, And for those who know me, perhaps they also remember me as part of the child rights movement in this country, lobbying for the UNHCR to be enacted in this country, for the bills to come forward. I may not be as active as I used to be, but my heart is still there. That's why I'm here with Save the Children and with all of you. My heart is still there. You can take everything from me, but don't take away the children, and I stand for them. Thank you, the representative from the ministries. Thank you, Mr. Zuma. Thank you, the UNHCR representatives. Thank you, the representatives of various partners with Save the Children. And thank you for all of you who have come here so that we start a new century together. And I must also say thank you for those who have shared their stories with us. It's actually the stories that impact us. You've told us things that we didn't know, things that we could say as workers, as program officers, we can talk about them, but when you hear about how they impacted that really person, that child over there, it makes you feel great. It makes you feel that you have achieved something. Thank you so much for the mothers who really took the courage to bring their children as part of the evidence and celebrate with us. We thank you and we honor you for coming. Thank you, the Child Rights Assembly representatives, for coming, because you've told us right in our face things that maybe we would not have thought about. Your campaign is our campaign. Stand strong, don't be discouraged. You may be young, but you have feelings and you have thoughts, you have minds. Therefore, what you tell us, we believe is what really goes through your lives, and we want to walk with you, even if it's for a few years, but we want to walk with you. We feel that we are planting a foundation, and you must be ready to take over from us. So the Assembly, the Governor of Nairobi, the representative, the speakers, we are handing over the mantle to you. Are you ready to take it? Are you ready to take it? Yes. Thank you very much. So you see, we already are laying a foundation for those who will take over us, not just as advocates for rights of the children, but also as really the promoters, the implementers, the encouragers, and really people who are going to leave an impact in this country, and not only Kenya. I like to think about it as a global impact. Save the Children is a global organization. Therefore, our vision for children of Kenya should be like, we want to show, it's a candlelight. We are lighting a candle, okay, in Kenya. But we want this light to shine all over the world. I thank you all for coming, and on behalf of the board of Save the Children in Kenya, really we are delighted to see each and every one of you. We are pleased that you could all come, and we are pleased that you also have recognized the work that has been done by the Secretariat. The program staff who are here, your explanation on where your visions are for the next 3 years is an encouragement. Thank you all the staff of Save the Children and the country director for all the efforts you have put in this work to make this a reality. I thank you. With all these many remarks, I like us to clap for ourselves and say, yay, we are beginning a new century. Hey, we are beginning a new century. I don't see you excited. Hey! Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like when she said, I don't see you excited, because one of the things that I noted is that they were waiting for the right moment to really showcase the excitement, because as I borrow from me, in the African culture, everything starts and ends with music. And now I want to invite our foot soldiers, the people who actually work in the front line of what we do, the CHVs, first of all, to come and just entertain us with one song. And then after that, someone said, how do you cut cake without singing happy birthday? So after the CHVs, we'll definitely sing happy birthday, but not Ile Mapambano, please. So let me invite the CHVs. Let's appreciate them as they come. These are the people who make everything happen. Please, let's clap for them.
Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano. CHV musirale, lale, lale. wote TV musilale, bado mapambano, 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 bado mapambano, 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 bado mapambano, 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 bado mapambano.
Asanteni sana. Habari zenyu wote? Nzuri sana. Msijali, sisi tutaongea Kiswahili tu. Ama mtaona mbaya? Sisi tutaongea hiyo. Hawa ni CHV kutoka Rangata na wako na mchezo kidogo na wimbo ile wataonyesha na watawaeleza ni nini Save the Children wamewafanyia na wametoka wapi na wanaenda wapi. Nafikiri wanang'ara, si ndio? Si wameng'ara? Hey. Sasa leo ni leo. Si ni 100 years? Ndio hawa. Wakati Save the Children walikuwa wachaingia, haungewatambua. Lakini vile wameingia, haya, wametambulika. He, wameng'ara kweli. Karibuni. Na nataka kuwaona vile mnakaa. He, na leo tunatembelewa na wageni. Na hao wageni, moja ni cha wetu na mmoja ametoka Save the Children. Na wako na yale wanakuja kutuambia, je, ile walituonyesha tumefanya ama tuchafanya? Si ndio? Mko ready kuangalia? Na mnataka kuona? He, hebu waangalie. Haya, karibuni wageni wetu. Sasa kwa vile tumeambiwa time ni kidogo, lakini tungesema kitu kidogo. Wametufundisha juu vile tunapima watoto, wametufunza mwaki, wametufunza hygiene, mambo ya usafi. Kuna vitu wametufunza nyingi. Wametufunza table banking kutoka Save the Children. Wametufunza mambo mengi, lakini because of time wacha tuimbe wimbo kidogo tu, na nikiimba kila mtu ana dance. Walai. Kama mdansi nitoke hapa. Endelea. Sawa? Endelea. Kama no hello hello.
Hello kama no.
Kama no hello hello.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Kama no hello hello.
Hello kama no.
Kama no hello hello.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Chani kule.
Hello kama no.
Hello chani kule.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Chani kule.
Hello kama no.
Hello chani kule.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Kama no hello hello.
Hello kama no.
Kama no hello. Esevu ni kule.
Hello kama no.
Esevu ni kule.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Esevu ni kule.
Hello kama no. Hello kama no wamorainya.
Rangata kende.
Hello kama no.
Rangata kende.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Emiri kuja.
Hello kama no.
Mami kamu.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Wageni wetu.
Hello kama no.
Wageni wetu.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Leo kende.
Hello kama no.
Leo kende.
Kama no wamorainya.
Siku 100.
Hello kama no.
Nani alijua?
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Usavi nitie.
Hello kama no.
Usavi nitie.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Watoto wetu.
Hello kama no.
Sebu watoto.
Hello kama no wamorainya. Hello kama no.
Talangata kende.
Hello kama no wamorainya.
Ewendo nikure.
Hello kama no. Hello kama no wamorainya.
Haya, kuna moja anataka kuweka. Kuna moja anataka kuweka. Na hiyo tuna dance, si ndio? Tuna dance hiyo moja. Na hiyo tunataka kujua, je, watoto wetu wanacheza ama bado? Wageni musilale, lale lale, wageni musilale.
Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano,
mapambano, mapambano.
Bado mapambano.
Watoto tuwaone,
leo leo, watoto tuwaone. Leo leo, mapambano, mapambano. bado mapambano, watoto tuwaone, bado mapambano. Lale, bado mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano, mapambano. Lale, mapambano, musilale, bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano. Baba musilale. Lale, lale, wa baba musilale. Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano.
Now, please clap for them. Tafadhali. Now, being a millennial, tuna believing for every birthday we must sing. Sindio?
Yeah.
And I want you to maybe look at your neighbor, look at them, and then you start singing the happy birthday song.
Yeah.
And the ones close to the cake, please give them one. Okay? Make sure you do so. Apologies for those of us who are still in fasting, but I know you'll carry some of it home. Yeah. I hope so. I hope so. I hope the packaging is going on as we speak. So, 1, 2, go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Freddy. Happy birthday to you. How old are you now?
100.
How old are you now?
100.
Happy birthday, dear Freddy.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Kunawa mikono ni kitu cha maana, kunawa mikono ni kitu cha maana kwetu, kutimiza usafi ni kitu cha maana, kutimiza usafi ni kitu cha maana kwetu, kulinda watoto cha maana, kulinda watoto ni kitu cha maana kwetu, kunyonyesha mtoto ni kitu cha maana.
So thank you so much. Let's appreciate them for the energy that they bring in the room. It's 11, an hour past the time we had said we'd finish, and so the meeting has come to an end. For those who are not technically savvy, outside there is where is Florence? I need that Twitter thing. Where are they? Now they've gone to take photos outside. As you step outside, please spend just 10 seconds to take a good selfie, and then we'll load it into our Twitter handle. Thank you so much as you enjoy your cake, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.